time to save our fantasy football teams for Week 10, starting with Rome Odunze, who had 0 points somehow in a game where the Chicago Bears put up 50 points.
And Zacchaeus had like 15 points.
I don't know how this happened. Colston Loveland had about 29 points. Like, with Rome, you're looking at the week since the bye, and he's only had 1 week where he's been in double digits of the 4 weeks that they've played. And part of the reason I think for this is because when you're looking at the target volume and the number of receptions, 5, 6, and 3 targets in those games where he did not do well, it's simply not there. He's also just not catching enough in the 4. Let's just do the last 6 weeks: 0, 7, 2, 2, 4, and 3 catches. He's just not catching enough passes. The volume has actually been somewhat of an issue. Even in his games where he had high target volume, you only saw him with 6 and 7 receptions maximum. And so with Odunze, he's now the wide receiver 21 on the season. He's being consistently ranked as a wide receiver rest of the season. He's being ranked typically in the wide receiver 10 to 12 range. Just look this morning at the expert consensus on the site. I'm going to see if he's moved even a little bit, because I have a feeling, I don't think people are going to move him down. He's the wide receiver 11 still in expert average. I don't think people are going to move Rome Odunze down. So I don't necessarily think that there's a buy window. But if you have Rome Odunze and he's killing you, what are you doing with him? Here's what stands out to me with Rome Odunze. The tier that, if we could just screenshot the B tier where Rome Odunze sits on the expert average rankings and the fantasy production, so you can see and you can highlight what I'm talking about here. Every single one of these guys in this tier is averaging at least 15.5 points per game, except for Rome Odunze, who is 2 points per game below that at this point. To me, at least, that screams, okay, if I can move off of Rome Odunze for, let's say, a guy in this tier, Davante Adams, at this point, I'm comfortable doing that. Emeka Egbuka, at this point, I am comfortable doing that. Justin Jefferson, at this point, I am comfortable doing that. I know none of those guys have been, crazy awesome this year, but, Egbuka's the wide receiver 13. Jefferson, even though he's been fairly mid, is still the wide receiver 11. Talk about consistency, right? I just think those guys in that tier have a higher floor. When you're looking at Jefferson's last 5 games of targets, 11, 11, 10, 11, and 9. Egbuka, on the other hand, 7, 4, 12, and 9 in his last 4 games. And Davante Adams, obviously, is a red zone monster. I feel like Davante Adams is a better version of what Rome Odunze's production profile is. Yep. And so I'm just looking at the guys in this tier, and to me, and actually, I think he's moving down in real time. My guess is that man just updated his rankings. Mm-hmm. My guess, maybe he falls into the C tier and you can't get any of these done. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, if you can get any of Jefferson, Egbuka, Adams, or probably even Garrett Wilson at this point. Is Garrett Wilson supposed to be healthy next week? Do we know?
He was close to coming back in that Cincinnati game.
Okay,
so all signs are pointing to him being back.
I think I'm also fine with Garrett Wilson's target volume is elite, but it's a much worse offense is the problem. I think that one's kind of a wash. I'm not moving him down too far here, and in fact, the matter is, the guys
I dropped him to the bottom of that tier. Essentially,
the guys in the tier below him are Nico Collins, George Pickens, Ladd McConkey, Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman. I don't really think I'm comfortable moving him for those guys necessarily, because I think he's in that tier at this point. I think he has just as much upside as those guys. And when you're looking at his advanced analytics, it's not bad. He's 16th in the league in targets. He's 17th in target share. One of the issues is he's only 19th in team pass plays per game. The Bears aren't passing the ball a ton. His red zone target share is 29th in the league. I did notice his, I don't know where I saw this metric, but they hardly ever put him in motion, which I cannot stand when players do that with their best wide receivers. The Texans have done that with Nico this year, and it's malpractice.
Yeah.
13th 22nd in yards per route run though, so the efficiency is fine. And there's nothing on his advanced analytics that screams this guy's actually a fraud. It's just a fact. The fact of the matter is, I just don't think he's getting enough volume. And so, red zone targets, you can make the argument there that that's part of the issue. But I would say with Rome Odunze, if you can sell him for any of the guys in that tier, I would sell him. So I'll give him as a soft sell. If you can't move him for the guys in that tier and you're talking about, hey, the offers you're getting in your league are the Nico, George Pickens, Ladd, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman, A.J. Brown tier, I would be okay if you can get a good plus on top of those guys if you want to. But I'm probably going to hold at that point.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you there. I would probably just lean hold in general. Again, kind of adjusting my ROS rankings on the fly right now. And with Odunze, it's I can't really drop him any further than right there neck and neck with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. And like Nico and Igbuka we've been talking about, I mean, these guys, when they don't score touchdowns, also have a pretty low floor. So it kind of just comes down to what situation you prefer more rest of season. And if you do prefer Odunze's rest of season outlook in terms of his schedule, I can't really fight that or slight that because I'm going to rank him above Flowers, Sutton, Pickens, those types of guys, just because he is the schematic wide receiver one in that offense. And it's a very explosive, productive offense. Next guy that we're going to talk about here is Derrick Henry, who had another really good day on the ground against Miami. That was expected, but he couldn't find his way into the end zone. For all the good and bad that we've experienced with Derrick Henry this season, one of the worst things that has resulted in his production fall off compared to what we're used to seeing from him is not talent level. It's not efficiency on the ground. It's the fact that he can't find the end zone. And some people will say, okay, well, Water's going to find its level in the second half of the season. You know, if you're Sal or you're a number of people who have Derrick Henry ranked as, you know, a top 3 running back rest of the season, like you're basically expecting him to get a lot more touchdown usage in the coming weeks. My issue is you've got Minnesota, Cleveland, and the Jets the next 3 weeks. So that's kind of a mixed bag in terms of run defenses. Cleveland, I mean, this first game against Cleveland this season, he only had like 2 points. Then you've got Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. So weeks 13 through 15 are really solid. But then in 16 and 17, which is your championship game and semifinal, you've got New England and Green Bay, which are 2 very tough run defenses. I mean, you've got a mixed bag here in terms of outlook. And once you get to the playoff schedule, after that first week in week 15, your first week of playoff play, it's Cincinnati, and that's great. But beyond that, it's looking really, really rough for Derrick Henry. The issue, like, we could sit here forever and break down, like, why is he not getting the touches that we want to see in the red zone? Actually, he's getting stuffed. They're a little more predictable this year. And honestly, the usage of these tight ends in the red zone is more prevalent than we've really ever seen. And it's not just Mark Andrews, it's Charlie Gallar. It's a couple of other guys in that offense as well. I mean, you saw Rashad Bateman on a goal line play. They went into play action and they threw the ball to Rashad Bateman in that game against Miami. Like, basically, defenses are not letting Baltimore beat them on the ground with Derrick Henry once they get into the red zone. Like, they will die forcing Lamar Jackson to work for every single touchdown. And I mean, so far this season, it's kind of worked because Baltimore's 3-6, and yeah, Lamar's been banged up, and yeah, Lamar's back, so Derrick Henry's trajectory could go back up. Again, you saw the second most efficient week for Derrick Henry on the ground, just as a true rusher, touchdowns aside. But again, that was expected against the Miami run defense. The reality is he's averaged like 13 points per game this season. That's good for like a mid to low end running back too. And for name value alone, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm close to getting to a point where I'm saying sell Derrick Henry because he's being ranked back to back with Bucky Irving right now. When you're looking at expert consensus at the moment, you've got Bucky Irving coming back healthy off of the bye week. You've got multiple running backs in that range who are just, honestly, they're just on the field more. Like, this has been a knock that people have talked about with Derrick Henry for a while, where he's not on the field on passing down sets. That matters this year more than it ever has, because this type of offense just looks a bit different than what we've gotten used to seeing in Baltimore and what we saw last season, where they had the lead and then they were just pounding the rock like crazy the rest of the day. This season, they really have to Lamar Jackson has to put the team on his back, and it's going to have to come through the air. Expert consensus at the moment has Javonte back-to-back, not only with Bucky Irving, but also in the same tier as Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, Saquon Barkley, just below James Cook, who is in that tier above. But I can't lie, guys. If it were up to me, again, I don't agree with everybody on the expert consensus here. This is average across the site. I would put Derrick Henry in that tier below, right, where Gentry, Judkins, Brees, and Jalen Warren are. I think that's where he belongs. And that's not. Again, I don't want to slight Derrick Henry, the talent, Derrick Henry, the player. We play fantasy football, and we're talking about fantasy points. And the reality is Derrick Henry has not been offering the consistent upside that you expected when you invested in him to begin the season. And if you have been investing in him, we've talked about Derrick Henry being a buy. We've talked about, hey, Lamar Jackson getting back. The reason we talked about Derrick Henry being a buy because Lamar Jackson was coming back is because we knew this would happen with his market value in fantasy this season. We knew that people would value him more than where he was being priced before Lamar was injured or when Lamar was injured. And now I think this is where you cash out and you raise your floor and you get a guy like Javonte Williams, who is in an offense where he's actually a bell cow work running back that's getting not just all those touches, but a ton of snap share. Like, what is he getting? Like 80% snap share or something in that offense?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go a step further than that. I think telling you to buy Derrick Henry was the wrong move on our part because I thought Derrick Henry actually was going to perform better, and he hasn't. He simply hasn't. And I've got a couple metrics that will tell the entire story of this season very quickly here. When you're looking at 2024, average defenders in the box for Derrick Henry, against Derrick Henry when he's running the ball, 6.1, that was 63rd in the NFL. Okay? Let's compare that to 2025. Average defenders in the box is up to 7. That is second in the NFL. Okay, let's look at the stacked front carry rate for Derrick Henry. This is 13th in the NFL last year. This year, 3rd in the NFL. Like Nathan said, that is quantifying what Nathan said, that defenses are simply not letting Derrick Henry beat them this year. And what you're seeing is a large decrease in efficiency from Derrick Henry as well. Yards per carry, true yards per carry, 5.3 in 2024. It was second in the NFL. He was amazingly efficient last year. This year, 4.2, 29th in the NFL. And again, like I don't have to do this, and I understand how it looks, but I don't care. Because the type of trades you can make with Derrick Henry, when you're talking about what Nate did in the Flock League, but which he got endless crap for. I mean, people are like straight up coming at his credibility for that trade. But the fact of the matter is, Nathan made a lateral production move from Derrick Henry to Jaylen Warren. Because Jaylen Warren's outscoring Derrick Henry this year. And I understand that we project Derrick Henry to be better, but I've been projecting Derrick Henry to be better for 4 weeks now, and it hasn't happened. And Lamar certainly will help that case. But either way, you're not talking about 15 to 18 point per game Derrick Henry this year. It's simply not going to happen with this type of defensive matchup.
Well, and you're not going to get better defensive matchups than Miami. Like, those are the games that you expect his efficiency and his production and his high upside to really be showcased. And it wasn't, again, because of the red
Miami
zone
was a free matchup, guys.
Yeah.
So, and you know what the reason why
we
Nate got
like
so much
points.
crap? And I said I don't think Nathan should have made the trade. I probably stand by that. I think Henry has so much upside you can't trade him. But I also said it wasn't the worst trade of all time. But do you know why he got shellacked for that? Because of Derrick Henry's name. Had nothing to do with his fantasy production. Zero to do with it. It had nothing to do with it. Because I can tell you what, Derrick Henry's averaging 13.1 points per game right now. If you had taken another 13.1 point per game running back, I mean, the other guys that are averaging around the same volume, or the same production as Derrick Henry are 2 tiers lower. And you had pivoted to Jaylen Warren, it would have been a fine move. But because it was Derrick Henry, and this tells you all you need to know.
Why is Javonte even in the same conversation?
Why
is he even in the same breath as
I have
Derrick Henry
Javonte
right
Williams.
now?
I wouldn't trade him for 2 Derrick Henrys.
If Javonte Williams and Derrick Henry swapped production outlooks, Derrick Henry would be S tier, and Javonte Williams would be D's tier, all the way down there by J.K.
These type of conversations, that's because name value has over. And we're talking about Nathan and I are playing in a league with other very smart people.
And they're falling for that.
And they are absolutely falling for it.
Stuff.
They're falling for it. And I'm not. I'm not going to sit here just because it's Derrick Henry and I know what he's done and I know he's one of the best running backs of my lifetime. And he destroyed my Colts for years. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, Derrick Henry's like certified 100% going up in production this year. There is no guarantee of that happening. You're just projecting. And at this point, I don't know why we're trying to project. It's week 10. It's week 10. You have 5 weeks until your playoffs. You really want to bet that this guy's going to take that much of a leap 5 weeks before your playoffs?
Again, New England and Green Bay. Like, that's not what you want to see.
So,
that's not what you want to see.
I'll be on record. Do I think he should have made the trade? Probably not. But do I think it's the worst trade of all time? Absolutely, I don't.
At least it kept me in the conversation 1 week through because I would have lost my match.
Nathan's side crushed the side he traded away this week. It's just what happens. And so with Henry, I think the name value is so high that you can if you can get Javonte Williams, any of these guys, Barkley, Javonte, Kyron, or Bucky, oh my gosh. That's a joke at this point. It's a joke. And whatever, you think we're wrong? I don't care. We've already heard all about it. It doesn't matter. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear just because you get mad because his name's Derrick Henry. We're going to tell you what actually helps you win. That's what we're trying to do here. So I traded away Matthew Golden in the Flock League as well. I traded him away after, I think, week
Week
3.
No.
And since then, he's had 2 double-digit games, but he's had 3 straight games where he's not been in double digits. Now, the reason I traded away Matthew Golden in the Flock League, and I can't believe I fell for this. Now, the good news is it helped me get probably the best trade of the year done in that league, because Rashee Rice is amazing. But I can't believe I even fell for this in the draft, even though I pivoted. I can't believe I fell for it. The Packers don't have a wide receiver 1. Now, a lot of people are going to immediately comment on this video. Now that Tucker Kraft is hurt, Matthew Golden's going to be that guy. And I've got news for you. I don't think it's happening. I really don't. Romeo Doubs has been consistent there. Like production-wise, he's been consistent.
Yeah,
Christian
we
Watson
just talked about him in the buys video.
Christian Watson has been consistently getting big plays. 85 yards and 58 yards in those two. That's supposed to be the golden role. What is the golden role here? Because, by the way, he did leave with a shoulder injury in the third quarter, and so he didn't end up playing the rest of the game. He had 3 targets for 2 receptions.
All the more reason to invest in Dobbs.
He hasn't had a game over 5 receptions this year. He hasn't had, the volume's not there. And I don't think it's going to be. In fact, I don't know what you could even sell him for at this point is the problem. Because with Golden... but let's just even look. Let's just because I bet there are some names in here that I would be relatively close to trading Golden for.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is possible. Maybe is it us that's skewing the rankings here? He's ranked next to Josh Downs. What? I would take Downs. I would probably take a shot on Parker Washington.
I would take a shot on Chris Godwin too, once he's back healthy as well, because Golden's banged up right now too. So you may as well take the upside shot with no Evans in Tampa's offense by moving Golden for Godwin.
I would probably do that as well. You've got Romeo Doubs, his teammate. I would take his more productive teammate over him.
Yep.
DJ Moore and Jameson Williams are 2 spots ahead of him, 3 spots ahead of him. Wandale's 1 tier ahead of him. If you're going to add a small piece and get any of these guys, I'm just selling Golden and I'm going to try to up tier here. Here are my targets: Khalil Shakir, Wandale Robinson, Jameson Williams, Romeo Doubs, Chris Godwin, and Josh Downs. You might have to add a little on top to get those guys. I don't know, but let's just look. Because I guarantee I can find you Matthew Golden trades where I'm like, I would very clearly take the other side. Somebody traded Golden for Woody Marks. I would even do that. Somebody traded Golden and Alec for Josh Downs. Beautiful. Somebody traded him for Charbonnet. I'd probably rather take the shot on Charbonnet. Somebody traded him for Ladd. What the heck? That's a Mickey Mouse league. My gosh. Some of these trades I hate, man.
That's so
somebody traded him for Chase Brown, him and Chuba for Chase Brown. I would absolutely do that.
Oh yeah.
It looks like all the trades here, all done within the last day, I would make for Golden. So I would, yeah, I don't think it's happening this year with Golden. I don't know if it ever will. Golden was a raw prospect. When you're talking about he really came on in the college football playoff at Texas, but when you're talking about the rest of his production profile at Texas, it wasn't any good.
Look, we can have this whole conversation about Golden again heading into next year. I'm totally happy to do that because, again, you've seen historically Green Bay, generally the way that they develop their wide receivers is it's kind of a classic 3-year trajectory. If you remember, even a decade ago, like the time that it took for wide receivers to develop to a point where they could really produce at a super high level consistently, it was kind of a 3-year career path. Remember that 3-year breakout was kind of classic for a lot of these high-level players. And Golden, that's probably going to be his type of trajectory is like you're probably not going to see a crazy breakout until year 2. And that's not doing anything for you on your fantasy team this year. Let's talk about another guy that's in his 2nd year that we saw flashes at the beginning of the year when Josh Allen was just slinging it, carving up that defense and was using Keon Coleman to do it. And now, we're halfway through the season, and Keon Coleman, since that game, has done, legitimately nothing startable. 0. Absolutely nothing. I just went up against Thomas, who was forced to flex him because Brees was on bye. Oh, thank goodness. And he had 3.7 points. He's had 1 double-digit game, 10 points against New England in week 5. But again, it's been 5, 5, 7, 10, 4, 6, and 3 points. And this is a waiver level player. Keon Coleman is waiver level. And honestly, a big reason that this has been the case is because Khalil Shakir has been very, very consistent since a slow start to the year against Baltimore and the Jets. And Dalton Kincaid as well. Talk about 3rd-year breakouts. Dalton Kincaid has been anything but consistent. He's quite literally been double digit, single digit, double digit, single digit, double single all year long.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't even say it
That's
because
crazy.
it's that maddening. But he went from 6 targets to 2 to 6, down to 3 to then 6 again here against Kansas City and 22 points. Look, there's not going to be anybody outside of Khalil Shakir that's actually going to show any semblance of consistency this season. And when you're talking about like top options in that offense, it quite clearly is Shakir, Kincaid, and then the field. And that's about it. James Cook, obviously, you know, the biggest factor on the ground. They're going to run the ball consistently. Josh Allen just spreads the ball out. You're kind of seeing this era in Buffalo that's very similar to what we saw with the Chiefs the previous 3 years, once they let Tyreek Hill go. Like, this is that era for the Bills, where once they let Diggs go, they're just kind of spreading the love, and they have been spreading the love for a couple of seasons, and that's going to continue on until they get another star guy like their Rashee Rice, right? And I just don't think it's there with Coleman, and I understand a lot of people are interested in the upside and the opportunity there, but the reality is when he's ranked value equivalent to Rashid Shaheed is someone that's getting double-digit targets, not on a consistent basis, but enough where he's a nice upside flex play option, quite literally a 50% hit rate on like double-digit 15-plus point games. He's had 9, 12, and 9 targets the last 3 weeks against Chicago, Tampa, and the Rams. Their schedule over the next few weeks is Carolina bye, Atlanta, Miami, Tampa, Carolina, the Jets, Tennessee, Atlanta. I mean, a number of these games, they're going to be down early. And the best thing about a Shaheed type of fantasy asset is the more they are down, the better it is for Shaheed and his fantasy production, because they just have to take shots downfield all day long. And that creates a lot of opportunities for him to get explosive plays. And he's a high-end wide receiver 3 at this point. You're not going to get even close. You're just hoping that Keon Coleman is going to be what Rashid Shaheed is and already is and will continue to be for the rest of the year. You're just crossing your fingers and hoping that's what Keon's going to be, because he's nothing better than that this season, guys. He hasn't come on enough to command a consistent amount of target volume to really eclipse what a guy like Shaheed is doing, or Trey Tucker in an offense in Vegas that has to pass the ball quite a bit as well, because they are also down. If you are looking to package Keon Coleman with another depth piece and get that tier above, like we were talking about with Downs or with Chris Godwin or Parker Washington or Dobbs, like I would do that as well. So Keon Coleman is someone that's kind of a sexy name, has been a sexy name, because he's been projected to be down the line the wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen and the Bills. And while that could be possible down the line, we're not betting on it being this year.
Let's talk about the man of the hour, Colston Loveland. Woo. Now, I'm not going to be Danny, and I'm not going to move Colston Loveland up to tight end 7 rest of the season in my rankings. Like,
it's infuriating. I can't even talk about it.
He's had one double-digit game against the Bengals.
The Bugles of all teams.
Now, I will say, I do have Colston Loveland as probably a top 15 tight end rest of the season, because Cole Kmet is hurt now. And if Cole Kmet really does miss time, I think the tight end in that offense is going to be very good.
He deserves to be right there by Fannin, which is not a slight at all. That is not a slight.
No, Fannin's been great this year. Fannin's been much better than Loveland has. But, even like, for example, against Baltimore in week 8, when Cole Kmet was also out and he played 81% of the snaps there, he only had 6 points. Like, he's not scoring 30 points every week. So let's get that out of the way. I love Danny, by the way. Shout out. But with Colston Loveland, I don't think at this point, if you have Colston Loveland rostered, which he's only rostered in 27% of leagues. Actually, Colston Loveland's probably shouldn't even be on this video. He's probably more of a waiver level guy. I guess if you don't have Colston Loveland, I didn't realize he was that unrostered. I guess the Flock League has kind of skewed me a little bit for regular leagues, but where he's the 27% rostered player is the top 5 in every rank.
You get him off waivers and sell him off to a team that just lost Kraft.
That's what I would do. I think if you can pick up Loveland and sell high on him, then you should. Because if you can, that's all the time I'm going to spend on Loveland, actually, because I didn't realize he wasn't that even wavered. I actually would rather talk about the Vikings running backs here, so let's just do that. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Now, here's the interesting thing with these two boys. Aaron Jones came back in week 8, and he has outproduced Jordan Mason each week. Jordan Mason's have 4 and 10 carries. Basically, when Aaron Jones came back, they were like, we actually don't like Jordan Mason anymore. And I think part of the reason is because Jordan Mason was getting 15 carries a game while Aaron Jones was out and didn't do anything with them. Nothing. Like, Not good.
Yeah, I mean, we should have seen this coming. This is something that's dated all the way back to last season with Aaron Jones's utilization, and that is they love showing a 50-50 split with their running backs. And it was honestly more than a 50-50 split in favor of Aaron Jones this week.
Yeah, it was. Now the thing is, I think Aaron Jones' ceiling is still capped. So I would say this is one.
He's already hurt again.
I would say this. I'm going to say hold for Aaron Jones. I know it's the only hold I'm going to have in this video. I hope. For Jordan Mason, I mean, if you can still get anything for Jordan Mason, he's off my roster. He's off my roster immediately because Jordan Mason's just simply not going to get the volume rest of the year. And he wasn't good as a starter. He was not good as a starter. He's not going to be good as a backup. Where he's ranked rest of the season, I mean, I don't know how this is possible. Let me hold on. Let me check the expert consensus rankings just to make sure I'm not. Okay. Jordan, where is he? How is he still ranked there? Jordan Mason is still ranked next to Kamara, Woody Marks, JCM, Kenneth Walker, Tyron Tracy, Kamani Vidal, and then right above the guys, Kamani Vidal, I already said that, Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, Trey Benson, RJ Harvey, Zach Charbonnet, and Chuba Hubbard. I would probably take any of those guys. I would probably take any of them at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm not super interested in rostering Jordan Mason the rest of the season. I think he's a sell, and I think if you can get anything for him, I mean, let's even look at.
Should have sold him earlier. We tried.
I know. I think we've already had him as a sell. But even when you're looking at the wide receivers in this range and the overall expert average rankings on the site, you've got DJ Moore, J-Mo, Chris Godwin, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Josh Downs around him. Like I don't know. Let's look at some trades here because if you can get any of that done, I mean, it's not even close to me. Somebody traded Mason for Zach Charbonnet, which I like that deal. Take the Charbonnet side. Somebody traded, somebody traded him for Alvin Kamara straight up, which this was today. I like that trade as well. You can use Jordan Mason as a throw-in. Somebody traded DK Metcalf and Jordan Mason to buy Low and Cortland Sutton. I like that deal a lot. Somebody used Gadsden and Jordan Mason to buy Romo Dunze. So I see Jordan Mason being used as a throw-in in deals where I think he's actually still got some name value, which when in reality he shouldn't because he's not even startable. You've got Jordan Mason being moved straight up for lots of Aranda Gadsden deals, which whatever. I mean, a lot of people seem like they're moving off of Gadsden. I wouldn't target Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason for Jacoby Myers, Jordan Mason for Xavier Worthy. These were both today. Jordan Mason for Tyjae Spears, I would rather have. Another Xavier Worthy one. Kenneth Walker straight up. So there are plenty of achievable deals using the trade finder on the site. So these are trades that have been completed in fantasy leagues. There are plenty of deals where I would not take Jordan Mason. I think he's a good throw-in more than anything. And so I think if you can sell Jordan Mason, I would. I don't think he's going to be much rest this season.
All right, so let's talk about Tet McMillan here. Been a while since we kind of touched on him. Again, we were kind of talking about in the first month of the season, like when's it all going to come together for him? Because the volume was there, 9, 10, 8, 8, 8 targets, and you were seeing no touchdowns, and you got 2 touchdowns against Dallas with decreased target volume, and then it's just been a mixed bag since then. Since Dallas, it's been 5, 5, 10, and 6 targets with a mixed bag of like matchups as well. So it's just, look, Tet is not a bad flex option. He's not a bad asset to own right now. He's actually 20th among wide receivers this season in total points. So he's a mid to low end wide receiver 2. Again, they haven't had their bye week yet, so he has the advantage there. I would say low end wide receiver 2 here. Only 2 touchdowns on the year, 70 targets, again, halfway through the season. So like he's on pace to get like 130, 140 targets through the rest of the year, probably closer to 130. My issue with Tet McMillan is I don't know if people are really coming to terms with what he actually offers in fantasy football to a point where you can get him at a value. Right now, according to expert consensus, this just blows me away. He is in the same tier as Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, and Devonta Smith and T. Higgins. Any one of those wide receivers that I just mentioned, move 1 for 1, give up Tet McMillan to get any one of those guys. Again, you are crossing your fingers and hoping and praying that that's what Tet McMillan offers for you rest of season, and these guys are already doing it in better situations, mind you, for their target volume and usage. T. Higgins has Joe Flacco as long as he stays healthy. Chris Olave is in games constantly where they're down. He's just getting crazy volume. Jalen Waddle has no Tyreek Hill. Devonta Smith is more productive than A.J. Brown right now. This is one where you have like the number 1 wide receiver in the rookie class this season that a lot of people expected him to be highly productive this year. And he's he's kind of breaking even in terms of like the level of investment that you selected him to start this season. He's, again, a mid to low end wide receiver too. He's not losing you your league. He's not losing you weeks. He's not really winning you anything though, like at all. And you just saw T. Higgins win a lot of people weeks. You just saw Devonta Smith multiple weeks in a row, win Avery multiple games. You've seen Chris Olave do this for Sal in the Flock League, where he faded wide receiver essentially entirely, took a shot at Olave, and it's been looking really good. Jalen Waddle, again, if you invested in him and then Tyreek goes down with the injury, he's just paying off on a weekly basis consistently. This is one that to me is going to be a no-brainer. Again, you just look at points per game alone, 14, 13, 14. You've got like 12 points per game. So you're looking at anywhere from like 1.5 to 2 points per game more for every single one of these wide receivers over Tet McMillan, with their weekly upside just being much, much, much higher. Because of their respective situations where I would just capitalize, I would cash out now. I don't think Tet is going to plummet rest of the season or anything like that. I just think the upside on a weekly basis that the rest of these guys offer is much better.
I mean, so what do you say to the people who are inevitably going to say, rightfully so, by the way, that we've had him on buy low 3 times?
Well, like I said, we've had him on buy low multiple times. That was, mind you, like in the first 4 weeks of the season when we were saying it was all going to come together. And since then, we haven't really talked about him. Since then, like I said, his target volume has fluctuated way more dramatically than it was. You were seeing a floor of like 8 targets, and now you're like going anywhere from 5 to 10 back to 6. And these game scripts, honestly, Rico Dowdle has been a big reason that Tet and his usage has gone down, because they're just punishing people on the ground with Rico. And we didn't really see that coming because Chuba Hubbard, that wasn't really his skill set. And now they're getting that out of Rico. Now they've established him as the number 1 starter and essentially the bell cow. And that makes me really worried about Tet's outlook for the rest of the year.
I'll say this. I think if you can get Olave and Waddle, I would do it.
Again, expert consensus has them ranked back-to-back in the same tier.
But almost all of us are dynasty build to some extent. And so I do think that plays into this, because I'm not seeing a ton of trades where that's actually happening. I just don't feel like that's his actual price at the moment. Maybe it is. I don't know. Like, I think if you can get like a Michael Pittman even, I think that's maybe still doable. I would do it because Michael Pittman's severely underrated by everybody. But
absolutely.
But yeah. I think when you go down even just a little bit here, you find the drop off pretty quickly. I mean, Smitty, I agree with. T. Higgins, they've produced about the same, to be honest with you. Higgins, Metcalf, Debo, Addison, Marv, you get down to the range very quickly where it's like, Tet's actually still outproducing these guys, or very close to it, 12 points per game with literally no touchdowns.
I don't think DK and Debo belong in this tier. I think I'd rank them below a ton of guys in the E tier.
That's kind of my point. And so I would say I'm still willing to. I have Tet McMillan still, and I haven't sold him. I'm still being a little bit patient. We've got 2 New Orleans matchups, including one in the playoffs, which is nice. But you also do have a Tampa Bay matchup in the playoffs, a Seattle matchup in the playoffs, so that gets a little bit tough. I'm fine. Whatever. I guess it's whatever. I feel bad, obviously, because we were like, yeah, Tet McMillan's going to be this guy, but it didn't pan out for Tet, I don't think, this year. And I do think, though, he's priced accordingly.
Again, like I said, he's not screwing you. Like, I don't think he's the hardest sells of all time, but of those guys that I mentioned, if you can get any of those guys, I would do it. So.
Yeah. So, again, it's conditional. But there you go. A lot of tough guys. It's getting really ugly. At this point, I mean, I'll put this caveat in here. If you even have the luxury of making a trade like this because all your players aren't injured, congratulations, because we are to the point now where injuries are just ravaging fantasy football.
Yeah.
So, just survive out there, y'all. We appreciate you. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. We're trying to hit 40K. You can help us do that. If you can help us hit 40K by the end of the season, we would really appreciate that. We will have rest of season rankings out for you guys tomorrow. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here soon.